Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us today in today's reading and reflecting within the Psalms. Up on the schedule for today is Psalm number 35. The 35th Psalm, a Psalm of David. It is described as a prayer of victory. That's what we're going to read and discuss this morning. It's a bit of a lengthy song, so buckle in and let's get to it. Psalm 35, beginning in verse 1. Oppose my opponents, Lord. Fight those who fight me. Take your shields, large and small, and come to my aid. Draw the spear and javelin against my pursuers, and assure me I am your deliverance. Let those who intend to take my life be disgraced and humiliated. Let those who plan to do me harm be turned back and ashamed. Let them be like chaff in the wind, with the angel of the Lord driving them away. Let their way be dark and slippery, with the angel of the Lord pursuing them. They hid their net for me without cause. They dug a pit for me without cause. Let ruin come on them unexpectedly, and let the net that he hid ensnare him. Let him fall into it, to his ruin. Then I will rejoice in the Lord. I will delight in his deliverance. All my bones will say, Lord, who is like you? Rescuing the poor from one too strong for him, the poor or the needy from the one who robs him. Malicious witnesses come forward. They question me about things I do not know, and they repay me evil for good, making me desolate. Yet, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled myself with fasting, and my prayer was genuine. I went about mourning as if it were my friend or brother. I was bowed down in grief, like one mourning for a mother. But when I stumbled, they gathered in glee. They gathered against me. Assailants I did not know tore at me and did not stop with godless mockery. They gnashed their teeth at me. Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue me from their ravages. Rescue my precious life from among the young lions. And I will praise you in the great assembly. I will exalt you among many people. Do not let my deceitful enemies rejoice over me. Do not let those who hate me without cause wink at me maliciously, for they do not speak in friendly ways, but contrive fraudulent schemes against those who live peacefully in the land. They open their mouths wide against me and say, Aha! Aha! We saw it. You saw it, Lord. Do not be silent. Lord, do not be far from me. Wake up and arise to my defense, to my cause, my God and my Lord. Vindicate me, Lord my God, in keeping with your righteousness. And do not let them rejoice over me. Do not let them say in their hearts, Aha! Just what we wanted. Do not let them say, We have swallowed him up. Let those who rejoice at my misfortune be disgraced and humiliated. Let those who exalt themselves over me be clothed with shame and reproach. Let those who want my vindication shout for joy and be glad. Let them continually say, The Lord is exalted. He takes pleasure in his servants' well-being, and my tongue will proclaim your righteousness, your praise all day long. Again, a bit of a lengthy psalm, but it makes sense because this psalm is setting itself up as a court case. And most court cases, we would not say, are the speediest processes in the world. There's a lot of legal language that is present here within this psalm. This very opening line, oppose my opponents, Lord, that's legal language. We can also see the same in verses 20 and 21, for they do not speak in friendly ways, but contrive fraudulent schemes against those who peacefully live in the land. They open their mouths wide against me and say, Aha, aha, we saw what the idea here is of a false witness. And we even see that in verse 11, the malicious witness comes forward. We have a court case here. And what we have based upon this court case scenery is a prayer. A prayer of a person who has been falsely accused of a crime and is fearful that there are going to be severe repercussions because of this false accusation and the false or the false condemnation that might come as a result of it. So the plea is, just taking the psalm as a whole and getting the gist of it, the plea is for God to be just. Excuse me. For God to be just. For God to deliver. For God to vindicate. And for God to defend the falsely accused. We have here the prosecution, the false prosecution, and then the defendant. And the defendant, in essence, is calling upon God to be his lawyer. And he's willing to do so because he trusts in God fully. He has full confidence that God will bring the right outcome to fruition. I really like the way Derek Kidner separates up this psalm. He separates it up into 3 sections. The first section, beginning of verse 1, the scheming of this malicious person or persons, those who are intending to take the life of the author. They're planning to do him harm, and they're doing it without cause. They're doing it. They're hiding the net. They're digging the pit. They're doing all this without cause. They have no reason to do it. These are the schemes. And yet, what I really appreciate about what Kinder mentions is that at the end of each of these sections, there are statements of hope. So even though the author is facing these accusers who are accusing him falsely, and he's detailing their scheming, there's hope. And the hope is in the Lord. Why? Because there is no one like the Lord. There is no one like the Lord who is able to rescue the poor from those who are too strong for him. And there's no one who rescues the poor and the needy from the one who robs him. But the Lord does. And the Lord will stand up against the schemes of those who falsely accuse him. The next section, beginning of verse 11, is the mobbing of this group that is standing up against the author, that malicious witnesses. There are a number of people who are seeking to take their stand unjustly against the author, that they come forward and they ask questions about things I don't know. I don't know because I wasn't involved. The author is saying, I had nothing to do with whatever it is that they're seeking to do. And what's saddest about this is the fact that the author says that I've been good to these people. I've been good to them. They repay me evil for good, which of course is exactly what we're not to do. We are to repay even good for evil, as Jesus says. And they're making him desolate. When they were sick, he cared for them. He wanted what was best for them, but they simply were not willing to repay that. In fact, whenever he stumbled, whenever there was some misfortune, I don't exactly believe this is a sin and some sort of misfortune. Some unlucky circumstance comes upon the author. Well, now they're excited. They're gathering in glee. And they're gathering against me. They're tearing at me. They're mocking me. They're mobbing. There's a mob mentality here that is against the author. So he calls out to God. God, how long? How long are you going to look on? And he says, you can rescue me. You can rescue me from the ravages. You can rescue me, and you can preserve my life. Here's the point of hope, verse 18. I will praise you in the great assembly. I will exalt you among many people. Why is he saying this? Because he has confidence in the Lord's deliverance. He has hope that the Lord is going to help him through. But then the third section, the gloating of the false accusers. Do not let my deceitful enemies rejoice over me. Do not let those who hate me without cause wink at me maliciously, as in, haha, you're getting what you deserve, because he says, I don't deserve this. I have not done anything wrong. And I really love what happens from verses 21 to 22. They open their mouths wide against me and say, aha, we saw. But here's what he says. They didn't see, but Lord, you saw. You see, their false accusations. They're trying to accuse the author here of something that's wrong when he's not done anything wrong. They're saying they saw, but they saw nothing, but the Lord did. The Lord saw. And he is asking the Lord, come to my defense. Do not be silent. Lord, do not be far from me. Rise to my defense and vindicate me. Don't give them the opportunity to gloat. But instead, whenever they rejoice at my misfortune, verse 26, Lord, cause them to be disgraced and humiliated. When they seek to exalt themselves over me, Lord, let them be clothed with shame and reproach. And then it closes with hope again. Let those who want my vindication shout for joy and be glad. Let them continually say, the Lord is exalted. He takes pleasure in his servants' well-being, and my tongue will proclaim your righteousness, your praise all day long. I love verse 27. Because it shows that this is not just about the author wanting something good for himself. It's not just about that. No, he recognizes that God is exalted when his people are blessed. God is exalted when his people have well-being, that gives opportunity for them to praise him all the more. And it gives opportunity for them to draw people nearer to God, to show how gracious he is, how merciful he is, and how he wants to bless his people. It all comes back to God. Though there is the scheming and the mobbing and the gloating of the false accusers here, at the end of the day, when God is your defense counsel, when God is your lawyer, there's hope. And he will bring us through to the end. Whether that is something that happens in this life, but ultimately in the next. Whenever we might suffer here, and there might be false prosecution, there might be harm done to us under unjust pretenses, God is going to acquit in the end based upon our faith and our trust in him. And he will deliver us and set us up in a good place and give us life eternal. So as I think about knowing God in 2021 and what this psalm teaches me about God, it teaches me that he is the true source of defense. When those people of the world might falsely accuse us, seek to speak poorly against us, or whether there is just a wicked person in our lives that is continually trying to make life difficult for us without just cause, he is our defense. And he will give vindication when the enemy seeks to tear us down. We need to go to him and put our total trust and confidence in him to deliver us in those situations. And what this makes me think of, again, tying in the New Testament, something that I see there, I think about the apostles a lot and what they suffered for, or how they suffered for the kingdom's sake. Think about the apostle Paul a lot and the enemies that he faced, both from false brethren or from Jews or even from secular enemies. But Peter too, I'm sure Peter had his own issues, and we see that within the Acts of the Apostles, as he has to stand before rulers on a number of occasions and proclaim confidence in Jesus, even though that might cause him trouble. But we see specifically in 2 Peter chapter 2 why he has such confidence. He has such confidence because of who God is. I want to read 2 Peter chapter 2 beginning in verse 4. 2 Peter 2 and verse 4. For if God didn't spare the angels who sinned, but cast them into hell and delivered them in chains of utter darkness to be kept for judgment, and if he didn't spare the ancient world, but protected Noah, a preacher of righteousness, and 7 others when he brought the flood on the world of the ungodly, and if he reduced the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes and condemned them to extinction, making them an example of what is coming to the ungodly, and if he rescued righteous Lot, distressed by the depraved behavior of the immoral, for as that righteous man lived among them day by day, his righteous soul was tormented by the lawless deeds he saw and heard. So if God will do these acts of judgments, if he will hold these wicked people to account, wicked beings to account, then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly. The Lord knows how to rescue the godly from trials and to keep the righteous under punishment for the day of judgment. Not only does the author have full confidence in God as his defense counsel, but so does Peter, and so ought we. So as you're going about your day-to-day, as you're thinking, as you're reading the psalm, as you're meditating upon it, and maybe as you're praying by what you've seen within the psalm, I'm going to ask you to pray for strength and pray for reliance upon God. Pray that you'll be pushed towards God all the more when you face unjust persecution. When you are opposed unjustly, let those situations push you to God all the more. Let this prayer of victory that was written by David, that's attributed to him, let this be your prayer of victory. Because God, as a defense counsel, he's never lost. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you in all that you do.